Like any repaint, you start with some primer. I've used this cheap COLORPLACE gloss white. Any white or gray color will work just fine. Now we don't do any other surface prep, we just shoot the primer straight onto the plane. On the bottom of the plane, we are covering it with a light Arctic gray color. This will be one of the two colors on the bottom of the plane. Just cover the entire bottom. Alright, here's where we begin masking. You can start with using 1/4 inch painter's tape. I'd recommend pulling a photograph of the full-scale ghost scheme just as a reference point to create your patterns. It's very important here to make sure all of your lines are perpendicular, parallel, or have 90-degree corners, as you can see. Everything has to be perfectly square or it won't look right. Everything that's masked off here will remain the Arctic gray color once we spray the next color and remove the masking tape. Now that the light blue is down, we can mask off the top of the fuselage. And again, once we remove this masking tape after we spray the next color, it'll review that light blue color underneath. Now, instead of masking tape for these larger masks, I use removable shelf liner from Duck. There's no need to stick this stuff to your shirt or pants like we do sometimes with the yellow frog tape or other masking tape. This has the perfect amount of tack, and it won't leave any residue. I used an X-Acto blade to cut out these different patterns. After the paint dries, after about an hour, remove the mask, but be sure to keep them as we're going to use the same mask for the bottom part of the plane. You can see here where I had to use some small pieces of masking tape to kind of correct some of the cuts where I didn't have perfectly square edges. The full-scale Ghost scheme has some light Arctic gray as well as the Aggressor gray on the rudder, so here we're masking off to just create that look. The left and right side rudder masks are reused for the inside of the rudders. For the back of the fuselage, I just freehanded a digital camo pattern using the masking tape as opposed to the duct masks. Here we reuse the top right wing mask for the bottom left wing. These are the same masks we used for the top of the fuselage that we're now reusing in the bottom. For the back of the bottom, I just freehanded it using painter's tape again. Use caution when removing the yellow frog tape. Always pull it back as close to the surface as possible and go very slow. It only takes a light dusting with this bright chrome to give the added effect and the look that you need. Do not put it on too heavy or it'll bleed underneath the painter's tape. With weathering, my personal rule is less is more. I like to dilute the color I shoot a full 50% with the reducer. It really just adds a little dimension and depth. That's all you're looking for with weathering. I'd never recommend just going over the existing panel lines. It'll look way too uniform when you're done. Time for the decals, and then we're calling this one done.